the small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views.
So, in fact, yes, they are taking fuel.
This is baloney. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, this video is sponsored by Established Titles. And by me! I wanted to let you eggies know that the limited edition heartfelt hoodies and tees and bits and pieces will only be available for another week. Then they will be gone. Gone forever. But there are a bunch of other designs and bits and pieces that you can also check out, as well as some other limited edition prints dropping towards the end of the month. I've also started doing a roundup newsletter, which is basically a summary of all of the stories that have happened in that particular week. So if you're interested, feel free to subscribe to my email list or just do that anyway, because I notify you of things now. Anyway, as I'm sure a lot of you have as well, I have been following the evolution of the Derailing Freedom Convoy over the last week or so. And due to popular demand, here I am to talk about it. It's a situation that is moving rapidly, it's inspired other convoys around the world, and it's teaching me, in particular, how much I hate the government. You already hated the government. Yeah, but now I hate them in a way I didn't hate them before. While so much has happened since day one of this convoy, what it's taught a lot of us, including me, is just how weak the Canadian government and Canadian politicians actually are. And how Ottawa police, who are more or less at the center of all of this, are standing against their own citizens. That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
Now, I freely admit that I am not physically on the ground in Canada observing all of this, so it is hard to speak to whether or not this is coming from everyday on-the-ground police officers, whether they're nice or sympathetic or mirroring the actions of Australian police. But I do think it's fair to say that whoever is in charge, the higher-ups in this situation, are handing down these orders, and they're probably a few sandwiches short of a picnic. I have loved watching Canadians come together in support of one another, and I've loved seeing it inspire other countries like New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, Italy, just to name a few. But I don't like how Trudeau and Ottawa police are responding to all of this. They've done a bunch of whoopsies, and I'd like to get into a lot of that. But before we do, and you once again board my hell gondola, let's hear from our sponsor, Established Titles. You might not know this, but I am a lady. Quite a complicated claim to make in 2022. I am officially a lady thanks to Established Titles. Established Titles is a super cool initiative based on a historic Scottish custom that allows you to buy 1 square foot plus of dedicated land in Scotland so that you can officially call yourself a lord or a lady. Or laird, if you're Scottish. In return, the lads over at Established Titles will plant 1 tree for every order to help preserve the woodlands in Scotland while also raising funds to support global afforestation efforts. That means planting more trees so the little animals have somewhere to live. When you become a laird or lady, you get a certificate proving your title as well as a unique plot number that allows you to see the exact location of your land. Maybe even visit it. And the hairy coos. Anyway, Established Titles is having a massive extended New Year's sale. Plus, you get an additional 10% off when you use code Sydney site-wide. So click the link in the description or go to establishedtitles.com/Sydney to get an extra 10% off all of your savings when you use promo code Sydney. Now, if you've been following the Freedom Convoy in any capacity, you probably will have seen this clip.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Gee, thanks for your input, baby Castro. As the convoy rolled into Ottawa, allegedly Trudeau was whisked away to safety. And then he claimed that he had COVID and had to be quarantined. X for doubt. And since then, Trudeau has spoken at pressers and doubled down on these sentiments, which set the tone for the pro-mandate crowd's response to the whole situation.
There is no place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred. So to those responsible for this behavior, it needs to stop. To anyone who joined the convoy but is rightly uncomfortable with the symbols of hatred and division on display, join with your fellow Canadians. Be courageous and speak out. Do not stand for or with intolerance and hate.
Now, obviously, mischaracterizing this demonstration as hateful and bigoted and whatever else is inaccurate and untrue. Stop that. But I will note in this particular press conference that Trudeau referred to the destruction of bits of the city, including a notable person in Canada land called Terry Fox, where there's a statue of him in Ottawa. The alleged defacement included putting a hockey cap on its head, a Canadian flag wrapped around its neck, and an upside-down Canadian flag hanging from its arm, and a placard reading, "Mandate Freedom," wedged under the other arm. Oh. People were also claiming that a few protesters were harassing workers at a homeless shelter demanding meals. So make of that what you will, but personally, doubt. Now, at first there were more and more people showing up to Ottawa in support of the truckers, but then this started happening in other major cities like Toronto. In the last number of days, we've seen hundreds of people and trucks gathering together in the freezing cold all across Canada to stand up against mandates. This includes farmers who turned up in Toronto, cowboys who we saw in Alberta, and every day citizens have been turning up to create places to feed people. They've had bouncy castles and dance parties, and yeah, they're just like humans being human, I guess. Which is nice, I'm not gonna lie. We've had a real absence of that in the last 2 years. Lots of weird people doing weird things. I don't like it. But over the weekend, on February 6th, Ottawa police announced that anyone attempting to bring material supplies such as gas, maybe food, maybe other bits and pieces, to demonstrators could be subject to arrest.
They're saying those cops said that they were not going to enforce it today. They wanted them to start enforcing it today. They said no, but at midnight tonight, anybody that's bringing in jerry cans, propane tanks, fuel of any kind is assisting in illegal activity. The fuel will be seized and you will be charged.
And we can see this playing out in the many clips across the internet. Like this one, where it's reported police raided and took supplies.
So, in fact, yes, they are taking fuel right away from people as they attempt to fuel their vehicles. And people are surrounding the police, even though the police are actually being extremely calm and cool about kind of everything, except for they're taking fuel, I guess. But other than that, they're being pretty respectful to everyone, considering they just got surrounded in like 2 seconds.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Shame! Shame!
In this clip, police allegedly took a shelter with supplies such as warm clothes and food. Looks like this is the same one that the protesters were using to feed people. It is also being reported that several people have been arrested. Deputy Chief Steve Bell said in an interview that they're really focused on targeting and removing the excess of gasoline in the area, and they've had several seizures and several arrests related to that already. Apparently, the charge here is aiding and abetting mischief. Also, giving people supplies constitutes as mischief. They want to stop the great honking, you see. You know, I was just thinking, and maybe this is, I don't know, a crazy thought, but if the police take all of the truckers' fuel, how do they expect the trucks to leave? We are right off the rails and into the abyss. Journalist and writer Marie Oakes, who has been covering this diligently, and I will link her information in the description, you guys should definitely go check her out, has reported that truckers are being fined up to $700 a day where possible. She also told me earlier that Ontario Liberals are calling on Premier Doug Ford's Conservatives to send a clear and unequivocal message to illegal occupiers in Ottawa. Leave now or risk losing your truck. The residents of Ottawa are victims of a dangerous anti-vax mob holding their city hostage, stated Ontario Liberal leader. It has gone far beyond what can be considered a protest, and the occupation must be dealt with using strong action. But it's fine when you guys do it, right? Yeah. Then it's social justice. Or from our vantage point, this. Even when asked about it, the convoy organizers did note that an early strategy to make them leave was to stop them from getting fuel, and then as a result, they started bringing them in with jerry cans. I have always said that the ingenuity of people who don't want to do a thing will always supersede the thing. Your brain is really something. I bet it's squishy and big. And now, well, as far as the fuel goes, you know the rest.
So we just got told if we don't leave within 5 minutes, we're going to be arrested. And I'm not too sure why they put that order on. So I don't think we have enough time to pack everything up and go. We've already got everything blocked off. You can't get in that way. They blocked it off there.
Have they already hauled people and vehicles away?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
No, I think they're desperately trying to clear it out and get everybody to leave. Yeah, so I guess there's 5 minutes, and if you're standing on the park, they're gonna start arresting us.
But in spite of all of this, today on February 7th, people found a way to push back. If you had told me a year ago it would be Canadians pushing the envelope, I would have just, I would have said, you know, I don't believe you. Maybe I was wrong about you, Canada. Maybe all the times I called you snow Mexicans or referred to the fact that you have a funny national anthem and your accents sound like you have golf balls in your mouth. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Canadians are cool. They just speak French badly. Now, from top to bottom, many cities and areas within Canada have made it exceedingly challenging to protest. The city of Ottawa declared a state of emergency on February 6th. On February 3rd, Ottawa police suggested that they might call in the military to end the convoy's demonstration. The police chief referred to the protest as intolerable and unprecedented. The military told him to go. They said no. It also seems that Ottawa police did a whoopsie and potentially, maybe, we don't know, colluded with GoFundMe. On February 4, GoFundMe announced it had removed the Freedom Convoy's campaign. In a statement, the platform said the convoy had become an occupation rather than a peaceful protest, and this went against its terms of service. The statement added that the convoy's organizers will no longer be directly distributed funds. Instead, GoFundMe will send the remaining funds, which was about $9 million at the time, to credible and established charities verified by GoFundMe, which they quickly backtracked after people went berserk and they realized you can't steal money from people, unless of course you're the IRS or the mafia. Then it's fine. Also, can we just acknowledge for a second that GoFundMe didn't have a single issue having fundraisers on their website for literal murderers and Antifa and people who burn down buildings and kill people and destroy things. I haven't said it in a while, but stop the planet, I want to get off. Ottawa police, in the weirdest move imaginable, tweeted in thanks of GoFundMe and their support saying, "The decision to withhold funding for these unlawful demonstrations is an important step, and we call on all crowdfunding sites to follow. The good news is that another platform called Give Send Go stepped up to the plate and has raised over $2 million for the convoy so far. And they aren't commie bastards. So there's that. Now, let's turn our attention for a second to other cities and areas that are doing some whoopsies. On January 28th, the province Nova Scotia made it illegal for people to gather along highways in support of truckers. The highway blockade ban, as they've named it, comes with a $10,000 fine for individuals and a $100,000 fine for corporations. And the order specifically references the Freedom Convoy. There was also a standoff between truckers and police at the Alberta-Montana border, which I believe is still going on right now. The truckers had allegedly blocked off roads and were holding firm, and the police, as per usual, were trying to make them move on. This situation has been one of my favorites since the convoy kicked off, and it's largely because I love seeing people actually stand for things that they believe in. These men stood their ground, and I believe continue to stand their ground, even with the threat of being forcibly removed and arrested. And I love that. There has been such a complete lack of backbone over the last 2 years that seeing people actually stand up for something warms my cold, dead heart. For those who don't get it, it's because I'm a vampire.
But the only way I'm leading is in a cruiser.
Yes.
There you go.
You know what? You 100%.
That's right.
You know what? Who's here?
So who's gonna stay? I'm staying.
On February 5th, a Freedom Convoy protester was hit by a car in a hit and run during a protest in front of Manitoba's legislative building in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I will add, though, that it hasn't been all bad, and despite the things that are happening in some cities and provinces around Canada, it hasn't been the same for all of them. The province Quebec, which had floated an unvax tax that would impose a significant fee on unvaccinated citizens, has pulled this off the table. The Premier of Saskatchewan said in an interview last week that it's time to look at ending all remaining COVID measures and restrictions. The Premier of Alberta, Jason Kenney, said his government will begin rolling back COVID-19 health restrictions. He also said that his government will announce an end date to Alberta's vaccine passport in the near future. And while these achievements are great and they are little wins, it doesn't change the fact that Canada has been exposed to a lot of nonsense over the last 2 years. Trudeau is nowhere to be found, and Ottawa police and Ottawa officials are taking away basic necessities from people in the city. And I think people are generally fed up with this.
Where did you come from?
I came from Calgary.
All the way from Calgary, yeah. Are you gonna stay here for the night?
I'm planted here. I've got nothing left after this. He's taken my whole life away. I'm on disability. I can't afford to eat. I can't afford to fix my truck. I can't afford to do anything anymore. We have a kid. It's hard to feed him. Like, this is getting out of hand.
You're negatively affected by the lockdowns and the measures, I take it.
Extremely, very extremely. I've been here 3 nights now.
Wow, so you didn't come today. You've been here for 3 nights.
I've been here for 3 nights. I'm staying till it doesn't matter. I'll stay here for a year, 2 years, till whatever. It doesn't matter.
Thank you. Send this message to Justin Trudeau, please.
Yeah.
Tell him that we're united. It's just not a white supremacist group. We're not a small fringe minority. Thank you.
But perhaps the icing on the cake for me through all of this, since the convoy started, is not having politicians and Trudeau try to torture demonstrators. It's not watching Trudeau flee and run away from the situation, or even the fact that taking food and basic necessities away from people is the most un-Canadian thing ever. It's that there are people who don't seem to understand why the demonstrators are there. And if they do, they think it's insane. It's the same people who want to call these demonstrators anti-vaxxers and tell them to go back to where they came from, or call them hateful and bigoted because they want their lives back. People who have office jobs, who live in glass houses high away from ordinary people, are the most critical of the working man. They walk the streets telling these people to go home, not realizing it is truckers who put food on their tables and clothes on their back. I mean, I saw this photo yesterday yesterday of someone likening these protests to Tiananmen Square, and I wanted to rip my hair out. The hubris of these people is unreal. And the more I thought about it, the angrier it made me. Truckers and ordinary citizens alike are standing against the government, as the students participating in the Tiananmen Square protest did as well. And it's bizarre to me that people who think they're counterculture are the ones endorsing government overreach. And honestly, after 2 years of this, after government overstep, after forcing people to do things they don't want to do, after threatening them in every conceivable way, I don't blame a single protester for being over it, and I support their right to assemble. In the freezing cold, I might add. I have no doubt that this situation will continue to develop, and I will continue to cover it on my other social media and maybe even make a couple more videos about it as well. And I want to do that because I want to support these efforts, and I actually want to support other people around the world who are doing similar things as well. And to everyone who has participated, to everybody who is out there in the cold, please don't give up. In the end, in my view, Trudeau and other politicians have let the people down so badly that they have nobody to blame for this but themselves. And I think it's pretty clear that they'll go to pretty extreme lengths to achieve the ends that they want. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder that you can check out established titles using the link in the description. When you do, you will see they have a massive sale on at the moment, and you can get an additional 10% off with code Sydney. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Is the convoy completely insane? Do you support what they're doing? Have you seen it? Have you been out to see the protests themselves? Do you think that we are at a point where politicians need to start listening, where enough is enough? Do you think that we haven't gone far enough, that we need more mandates and more pressure and more legislation being forced on people? And what do you generally make of this situation overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe, the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time.